I ended up working my way to Bret's locker room, and just like, I cannot believe that this happened. And finally, I left there, and I went to get Vince. So I was like, Vince has got to address this to Bret. And so I left there and was going to Vince's office. Vince was already on his way. He was already on his way to come talk to Bret about it. Of course, all the boys are, in an uproar. And what I kind of did was like, all right, this is bad enough as it is. A lot of you guys that it doesn't affect, it doesn't matter, needs to stay the hell out of here, right? So there were a lot of people I didn't let in the dressing room.
The Montreal Screwjob was one of the shadiest, most cold-blooded moves in WWE history. Vince McMahon showed the world that he'd do whatever it took to keep control, even if it meant stabbing a loyal legend like Bret Hart in the back. In this clip, The Undertaker talks about exactly what happened on that night and how McMahon got a huge black eye from Bret Hart after the match.
So I think Bret had Owen and Davey Boy. Seems like there was somebody else.
Was Jim there? Jim was still there.
It might have been Jim.
It might have been Jim. And then Bret, and then Shawn was there, and then Vince came in with Shane and Jerry Briscoe, Pat Patterson, and Bruce Pritchard. So everybody sits down. Vince on one side, Bret's on the other side, and I took Shawn to the far end of the dressing room, and I sat next to Shawn because I knew at some point he was going to chime in, and that wasn't going to help anything. So we're sitting down there, and they're kind of going back and forth. Vince is trying to explain his position, and Bret's, giving his thoughts on what he thought about Vince and what he did, and basically said, I'm going to go in here, I'm going to shower, I'm going to get dressed. If you're still here, I'm going to knock you out, kind of a deal. And that's basically, they talked, he showered, he got dressed, they got up, and, Vince said, I'm going to give you one. And I have, to this day, I cannot figure out how that punch got through so many people. It was like, I don't know, because there were so many people in there, and they weren't like face to face. But and that punch got through. He hit Vince. Vince went down, and that was it.
So, Bret says it was an uppercut. What did you see? Was it a right cross? Was it a jab?
It was a right hand for sure. I don't know if it was an uppercut or more of a right, kind of a looping overhand right. But I know it hit him right in the temple. It hit him right in the temple.
And is that just sort of the kind of guy Vince McMahon is, that if he feels that in this circumstance, the only thing that's going to happen is he's got to take the shot, he's just going to take it and kind of get up and keep it moving because he knows that's kind of what the locker room needs?
I think so. I think, Vince didn't want to do that.
Who wants to volunteer for a punch in the face?
Well, no, I mean, Vince didn't want to have to do business that way.
Right, of course.
In Vince's eyes, he couldn't let Bret leave with the belt and then end up on WCW TV the next day with the WWF belt. That was, so, and to the best of my understanding, Bret was not going to drop the belt to Shawn.
You think you could have helped if Vince had enlisted you to try to help with Bret? You think there's any way you could have helped?
I definitely could have. And that was, so the next day, so I was really pissed. I was pissed that it got to that point. And I didn't know, I didn't show up the next day till really late because I didn't know if I was going to TV the next day. Mick didn't go. And it was late in the day before I decided, no, I got to go find out what the hell, what happened here and why it was done this way. My point being was you should have switched, you should have switched me. You should have put me in the match somehow with Bret I'm sure Bret would have dropped it to me.
Right.
And then I could have dropped it to Sean later on, right after that.
Right.
And
there was a way to do it.
There was a different way to do it, but Vince had to make sure, and he had to cover his bases, I guess, in his mind. And but that's kind of the point, I think, where the whole locker room leader was really starting to come about. Because
that had to solidify it. I was going to say that
boys, the boys knew how upset I was that one of us got screwed over, but then the office kind of could see the point of, okay, he's trying to do what's best for business. And it was that way for me. It was like, I'll defend you if you need to be defending, but it's all about business at the end of the day. And that's where I fell in that, it was one of the rare people that I guess that kind of fell into that groove where I was trusted. Yes, I was one of the boys, but I was trusted by the office, just like, I was sitting in on their meetings. I wasn't, but.
Vince McMahon didn't just screw Bret, he screwed the entire locker room, proving that loyalty meant nothing if it got in his way. Did Vince deserve that black eye that he got? Would you have done the same and punched your boss in the face? Or is business just business? Think about it, guys. Would you actually punch your boss in the face if you had the chance? Let us know if you're on Vince's side or on Bret Hart's side. I personally hate Vince for what he did to Bret and will never forgive him. But that's my own opinion. Let me know what you think, and I'll see you in the next video.